Straight after the Usyk Bellew fight, I seen a few people comment on my video saying that Bellew was a disgrace for what he said after the fight and what he was doing during the fight. Now, obviously, I didn't watch the Sky feed. I watched the DAZN feed, which had, I think, was it Nick Halling and Andy Lee on commentary. And during that fight, because I was listening to the commentary from them the whole way through, and during the fight, I could hear what I perceived to be Tony Bellew. I could hear it on there, but I was thinking it's probably not. I'm sure he's commentating for Sky. Maybe it's low in there, they're picking up on it, this, that, and the other. Turns out that actually was him. He was shouting instructions at Derek Chisora, what he needs to do, this, that, and the other. And bear in mind, he was there working for Sky as an analyst. Alright? For those who don't understand what that means, is basically your job as an analyst for a company like Sky is that you are to go in there and you are to break down the fight impartially, irrespective of any relationship you have with said fighter. So essentially that would be like me if, I know a couple of pro boxers. If I was on a show and, one of my mates who's a fighter was fighting and he was fighting, a matchroom prospect or something like that, I would have to break it down impartial and say, well, I think this fighter could win for this reason, but also this fighter here does a lot of this good. So you'd have to break it down impartial. But Tony Bellew wasn't doing that. He was actually shouting instructions at Derek Chisora what he needs to do, and he comes out at the end and he says he thinks Derek Chisora just nicked it because he was throwing more punches. Now, I'll admit that Derek Chisora had moments in there. I saw some people, very few, but some people in the comment section say that they thought Chisora won the fight. Obviously, you've seen my post-fight review, or most people have anyway. You'll know my thoughts on it. You'll know I thought that Alexander Usyk won the fight. You'll know I think that the scorecard of 115-113 was too close as far as I was concerned. I thought it was Alexander Usyk outboxing Chisora. He got a bit of a shock early on, I think, which was how aggressive Chisora would be and how physical he'd be. But other than that, I really didn't see anything that, raised an eyebrow. To be perfectly frank, I saw Alexander Usyk outbox Derek Chisora, and there was nothing there that made me worry about him moving forward at heavyweight, because I don't think you'll find many big guys who'll fight like that. Moving swiftly on from Usyk versus Chisora, in terms of that sense, I've already broke that fight down. Bellew has been doing this for a while. He shouldn't be commentating. He shouldn't be an analyst for Sky, in my opinion, right? This time last year, it might have been the end of November actually, I done a video on I done a video on Tony Bellew. And basically, I asked the question, Sky Sports should sack Tony Bellew, or should Sky Sports sack Tony Bellew, something like that. Purely because I was just appalled with how he covered the Callum Smith-John Ryder fight, and how he just gave John Ryder seemingly no credit, and then he started talking about Canelo Alvarez. And Canelo Alvarez, as we know, is the biggest star in world boxing. He is the A-side with everyone he fights. He was alluding to the fact that he perceived Callum Smith to be the A-side. Imagine the A-side in that fight. And he insisted that Canelo should travel to UK to fight Callum Smith, because Callum Smith is the champion. I can't take this guy serious who's coming out with ridiculous claims like that, because you're looking at it, you're thinking, right, your job is to be impartial. All you're doing is you're just bigging up these fighters that you know, and you are given absolutely zero credit to the foreign fighters. And that has to be said. It happens on Sky all the time. You see it with the commentary. Like, one of the most disgusting commentary jobs I ever saw was Matthew Macklin when he called Rachel Ball versus Shannon Courtney. Alright? People think Rachel Ball lost that fight, not because it was controversial. It was a close fight. I'll admit that. But the right person won the fight. Rachel Ball was the better fighter. But people think that fight was close because all you got for 8 rounds was Matthew Macklin ignoring everything Rachel Ball was doing. I remember in the second round of that fight, Rachel Ball landed a right hand like that, bang, on Shannon Courtney. And what does Matthew Macklin say? Excellent right hand from Shannon Courtney. I mean, if this is the level of the commentary we're expecting from Sky, then something seriously needs to change. And I'm using these as isolated incidents because this has been happening for a while now with Sky. They are getting guys who are completely unbiased, who are not impartial at all. I'm sure that there are commentators in America who know certain fighters, or who, are very close with certain fighters, who they're calling their fights on, but you don't notice it. Why? Because they know they're paid to do a job. They know there could be repercussions, because there could be if they are perceived to be too biased, or certainly if they do what Bellew did, which is, shout instructions to the fighter while you're working the fight for Sky. The fact that he is not being investigated by the British Boxing Board of Control, and the fact that there's nothing being said by Sky as of yet, is a bit of an eyebrow raiser, because something seriously needs to be. Because as I said, the whole point of that job is that you are fundamentally unbiased. You are impartial. You call it straight down the middle, irrespective of any relationship to the fighter, right? But we're not getting that. We are not getting that at all. And what annoys me the most is that there are actually good journalists out there. There are good former fighters who could be potentially be, good pundits, but they're not getting any opportunities. Obviously, I would love to do commentary or boxing analyst. I haven't applied for any jobs in that field yet, but I'd be annoyed if you had someone like me, Mark, Dell, Ade, someone like that who was overlooked for a job like that over someone who is just unbiased, who can't be impartial, who can't just say, right, irrespective of my relationship to said fighter, I'm going to call it like I see it. At the very least, if they want to keep someone like Bellew on, why did they get him on? Why did they get Dave Colwell on when they have a personal relationship with one fighter? Surely there's a conflict of interest there. I remember in a job once. Now, I had an interview a couple of years ago, and I knew I would get the job because I knew the manager. But the manager said it herself, I physically have to give this interview to someone else because I know you. I don't want a conflict of interest, which is professional. But with Sky, we're not getting that. It's like, this fighter, you have to commentate on their fight. Bellew will be the biggest cheerleader for AJ. So it's no coincidence that who was always commentating on AJ fights? Tony Bellew. He was commentating on AJ versus Ruiz too, and all he did was big AJ up. Even if AJ didn't even land the jab, he was just, like a little kid. Oh, look at that. Isn't that amazing? They really need to do something about the Sky commentary team. They really need to, because it's getting ridiculous now. It's getting to the point where they're influencing fights, in terms of what the fans' perception of the fight is. They're not giving any real credit to any of the foreign fighters unless they really do go in there, like Miguel Vasquez did against Lewis Ritson, and just completely outwork and, beat the fighter, although we didn't get the decision that night. That was one of the times where Sky, Matthew Macklin, I think, even he said it was like, that's a robbery, simple as. And it was. They don't give enough credit to certain fighters. They big up fighters they have a vested interest in, like Shannon Courtney. Don't ask me why, but they did. I think Rachel Ball is way more marketable, and she's just a way nicer person. So don't ask me why they did that. But they influence fans. Sure, as I said, look at how many fans think Shannon Courtney beat Rachel Ball when she didn't. I don't think she did anyway. Why? Because I looked at it from a pair of impartial eyes and I saw what I was looking for. So that's what I got to say on this. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on the whole Bellew situation. Do you think there should be an investigation into it? I personally do. Personally, I do. Right? Whether Sky want to keep him or not, that's their choice, irrespective of my opinion. But my opinion is that Bellew, if not be investigated, they really should just maybe remove him from fighters that he knows, and just keep him on little small cards, kind of make him earn the stripes. Don't just give him these big fights where he knows the fighter. Just keep him on these little small cards, these next gen cards, where he probably doesn't even know the fighter, and just see how it goes from there. Because as far as I'm concerned, the guy's never going to be impartial, and the guy is just going to keep doing the same thing. I remember when David Price, Buzz Povetkin, you could hear Bellew, and I think he was even swearing, saying to Pricey, you need to do this. And I don't know if he was working for Sky that night, but I know he was working for Sky, prior to that. So it is what it is. I've said that before, I'll say it again, but it is what it is. What can you do? That's why we need to make videos and just address these situations. So those are my thoughts on this. Let me know yours down below. Smash the like button if you haven't already. I hope all you guys are enjoying it. We've had so much success on this channel lately. It's been crazy. Long may it continue. Long may it last. Thank you everyone for all the support you've been giving me. It's been fantastic. Hope you enjoyed this, peeps. I'll talk to you. Peace.